Yeah.
Hey everybody, just gonna wait for another couple minutes, see if we get some extra people joining. Can anyone hear me okay? Can you see if people have chat access? Oh, perfect, okay. Okay, I'll just give it about 2 minutes. All right, that should be good to start for now. If anyone else joins in, that's perfectly fine. But I'll get started. So my name is Aiden Pierce. Thank you all for joining us today. I'm the Stewardship and Engagement Intern with the Nature Trust of New Brunswick. My favorite bird is the American crow, and today I am joined by Tessa Snook, our Engagement Coordinator. Do you want to introduce yourself, Tessa?
Hi, everyone. I'm Tessa. I'm from Sackville, New Brunswick. I've been in Fredericton for a few years now, and my favorite bird is the American woodcock.
All right, so we're so excited that everyone's joining us today. I hope you get the chance to learn about some New Brunswick birds, and we'll talk about how to identify them based on the beautiful melodies they cast out over our landscapes. So a bit about Nature Trust before we get into the bird ID. For those of you who have never been involved with us or have heard of us before, we are a nonprofit land trust based in Fredericton. Our mission is made up of 3 main pillars. So the first one is to conserve areas in New Brunswick that are ecologically significant, establishing nature preserves that remain protected forever. Since 1987, when the Nature Trust was formed, we have conserved over 12,000 acres of land within the province. The lands have been transformed into nature preserves, most of which are accessible and open to the public, and we might mention a few of those today. Second is to steward the nature preserves through a network of volunteers and supporters. Currently, the Nature Trust has an amazing network of over 250 volunteers who are the eyes and ears on our nature preserves. Our stewards and volunteers help to update yearly management plans, they help to clean up the preserves, and really maintain the area overall. We're very lucky to have such dedicated people in our network. Our last pillar is to engage with the public on the importance of land conservation, as well as New Brunswick's natural heritage, biodiversity, and species at risk. So that's where you come in. We're so very thankful to have you join us here today and engage with us, and we love that we're able to connect with people who love nature as much as we do, even if that's online. And then finally, I would like to acknowledge that our webinar event is taking place on the traditional and unceded territory of the Wabanaki people. So without further ado, here is Tessa. And if you have any bird-related questions or questions about what we're talking about, and you don't want to interrupt Tessa, feel free to put them in the chat, and I will answer to the best of my ability. All right, I think we're good.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Aiden. And thank you everyone for coming today. I'm very excited to do this. I've actually been a bird enthusiast and enthusiast over their songs for a while, and I've kind of lost touch with that. So I'm glad to be able to be getting back into it. All right, so welcome everyone. I hope you're all having a wonderful evening and week. Welcome to our webinar on birding by ear. So we're going to explore the fascinating world of avian vocalizations, focusing on our local species in New Brunswick. Again, I'm Tessa Snook. I'm going to be your guide to this webinar and have, again, like I said, have been a bird enthusiast for a while. I grew up in Sackville, New Brunswick. So if anyone's been there before, very waterfowl based. So after going to school, I kind of expanded on that knowledge. So before we get into specific songs of New Brunswick's bird life, let's talk about why birding by ear is such a valuable skill. So learning how to identify bird songs by ear is a great birding skill to develop because often you'll hear birds more than you're going to see them in the woods or anywhere that you are. So being able to identify the birds singing will help you appreciate what's around you, even if you aren't seeing it. Birds make an array of amazing sounds with their melodious courtship songs to their territorial warning calls. Songs are typically sung by males during the breeding season to establish territory and attract mates. Calls, on the other hand, are shorter and serve diverse functions with alarming others of predators or keeping in contact with the rest of their flock. Now, you might be wondering, when's the best time to hear birds? So while the early mornings are known for their bird songs, birds vocalize throughout the day. However, the hours around sunrise and sunset are particularly active for birds to announce their presence and stake claim to their territories. Bird songs or calls can be complex, but mnemonics, which is what we'll be focusing on today, can help you remember certain species. For instance, the white-throated sparrow, their mnemonic is often described as, "Oh, sweet Canada, Canada, Canada." Mnemonics provide a fun way, an effective way to recognize and recall bird calls just by remembering simple phrases. So we're going to get right into it. So the first one is our first birds to greet us in the morning and a good sign that spring is here, which is the American robin. So robins can be found in your suburb lawns, in woodlands, grasslands, parks, and shrubs. So they have a very continuous and repetitive whistling that sounds like the mnemonic we have here. Cheerio, cheery me. Cheerio, cheery me. So I'm going to play the song for you. So it's very repetitive, like I said, and again, the cheerio, and sometimes you'll get like the cheerio, cheerio, cheery me, things like that. So we have their call, which is again like territorial or just communicating with their flock. So very repetitive, very quick. Yeah, I hear that a lot outside of my house. So I don't know about you guys. All right, so next we're gonna move on to the thrush hermit. I really like the thrush hermit. So, and they can be easily identified by their rufous tail, and they're found in understories of coniferous or mixed wood forest. So the hermit thrush, they have 3 to 4 very melodious flute-like phrases, which I want to focus on the flute-like because I think it's very like ominous, but very flute-like, that are very echo-like and they linger a second or two on those first notes. And this one's very distinct. I love hearing it in the woods. Some of these are a bit longer, but if we want to kind of come back to this, we can at the end. Okay, so again, very echo-like, and I think that's one of the most distinct bird calls that I know of, or sorry, the bird songs. So here's their call. Very repetitive, very buzzy. You kind of hear a little echo, but not as much as their song. All right, next we have the eastern phoebe. So the eastern phoebe is very easily identified by its teeter-totter tail when perched. So when they're perched, you'll see kind of their tail like doing this. Eastern phoebes can be found in wooded areas, particularly near water sources that provide the females with nesting sites. So this is one of the birds that is actually named based on the noise they make. So their song is a repeated 2-note sequence that is where they got their name from. So it's Phoebe, okay? So where the second note is buzzy and goes up in pitch. So we will play this one. Okay, so the males sing their raspy song throughout the spring and aggressively defend their territory from other eastern phoebes. They tend to live kind of with other species, but any eastern phoebes, they're not okay with it. So the next thing we're going to listen to is their call, and this is a display call at a nest site. All right. Next, we're going to move on to New Brunswick's provincial bird, the black-capped chickadee. So again, like the eastern phoebe, it says its own name. And black-capped chickadees are found in deciduous mixed forests, open woods, parks, and disturbed areas, so pretty much everywhere. They have their classic chickadee song, and then they have their cheeseburger. Okay. So we'll just listen to these ones quick because I'm sure you guys have heard of it. Right, so their cheeseburger song, and this is their chickadee. Okay, and the more excited the bird is, the more chickadee that they'll add on. Okay, next we have our tufted titmouse. Okay, so they tend to flock with chickadees, nuthatches, and woodpeckers, and they're found in deciduous woods and mixed woods. They're a fast repeated clear Peter whistle, repeated in succession up to 11 times. So the females often sing a quieter version of the song. So here's our song. So again, Peter, 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 Peter. And the cool thing about the tufted titmouse, it was ID'd and confirmed to be nesting in Hyla Park, directly on the trail. If anyone's been to Hyla in Fredericton, right on the north side of the river, they are there, or they were last year. Next, we have the song sparrow. So males sing from exposed perches and can be found in almost any open area, including marsh edges, overgrown fields, backyards, and forest edges. They sing a loud and complex clanking song of 2 to 6 phrases that typically start with abrupt notes and finishes with a buzz. And our mnemonic for the song sparrow is mates, 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 put on your tea kettle, ettle, ettle, ettle. I'm not doing it as quick because I tried and I cannot do it as quick as them. So mates, 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 put on your tea kettle, ettle, ettle. All right, moving on. Okay, we have our white-throated sparrow. Okay, so white-throated sparrows are found in woods, forest edges, or around ponds or bogs, and tend to stay near the ground. So you may see them in low bushes, particularly during spring. They have a sweet, clear song that sounds like, "Oh, sweet Canada, Canada, Canada," that typically moves up or down in pitch. Even though, actually, I'm not going to say that yet. Okay, we have our song. We'll listen. I'll play that again for you. So, oh, sweet Canada, Canada, Canada. All right. So even though they aren't closely related, the white-throated sparrow and the dark-eyed junco sometimes mate and produce offsprings, as if birding was not complicated enough. All right. So now we have the chipping sparrow. So the chipping sparrow, they're often found in open woodlands and forests, and they're seen in parks, along roadsides, and in your backyard if you have feeders. So the males sing a long, dry trill, almost mechanical sounding chips. Do, do, do. I'm gonna play this. Okay, so very quick, they kind of sound like a machine. And often chipping sparrows are confused with dark-eyed juncos who inhabit the same spaces, but the dark-eyed junco song is more musical. So I'm going to play the chipping sparrow once more. Okay, and we can compare that to the dark-eyed junco. So I'm going to play it straight off and then I'll kind of go over some of the facts. Okay, so very common. Dark-eyed juncos are often found in coniferous forests during winter and migration. They use a wider variety of habitat, including open woodlands, fields, roadside parks, or gardens. And the male dark-eyed juncos sing an even mechanical-like musical trill of 7 to 23 notes that last up to 2 seconds, and is similar to that of the chipping sparrow, and is loud enough to be heard from several hundred feet away. Aiden, do you have any other, I guess, ways to tell them apart?
I find that the juncos sound more like laser beams, whereas the chipping sparrow just sounds a little more, animal-like, like natural. Whereas juncos can have a real laser beam quality, in my opinion.
Okay. I'm going to play them just one more time just to kind of see the difference again. Okay, and then the chipping sparrow. Okay, now we have the yellow warbler. So hopefully you have all seen a yellow warbler, as they're the most common warbler. They're easy to hear. So yellow warblers, they're found around the edges of fields among alders or dogwood. They're a very rapid song featuring 6 to 10 whistled notes over the course of roughly 1 second. So it's very, very quick. The tone is so sweet that we usually use the mnemonic sweet, sweet, I'm so sweet, or sweet, sweet, ever so sweet, and is a common song of spring and early summer mornings. We'll play it again. So sweet, 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 I'm so sweet. All right, now we have the common yellowthroat. So common yellowthroat, they live in thick tangled vegetation and are most common in wet areas. So their song is like a witchity, 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 witchity. So their witchity song is to defend their territory and attract females. And both males and females give a strong chuck when potential predators approach. Okay, so I'm going to play this. Okay, it's very slow, very bouncy.
Bonus points if you can name the other birds that appear in those recordings in the background. I also wanted to add that now is the perfect time of year to listen to warblers. May and June, especially in New Brunswick, that's when the males are out singing. This is courting time for the warblers.
Thank you, Aiden. Yeah, I'm going to play it again. If you guys can kind of hear what's in the background of this witchity, 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 throw it in the chat.
Yeah, it's definitely a song sparrow there. You're right, Mark. I think I hear robins too, yeah.
Good job. A cool fact about, well, I guess not cool, but a neat fact of the common yellowthroat, they're a common victim of brood parasitism by brown-headed cowbirds. And they will desert their nest if it contains a cowbird egg, but they will build one or multiple nests on top of that parasitized nest. All right, we have the black and white warbler. Okay, so the black and white warbler acts more like a nuthatch than warblers, foraging for hidden insects in the bark of trees. They have a very long hind claw so that they're able to grip bark better compared to other warblers. So they typically use deciduous and mixed forest as their habitats. And their song is a thin, high-pitched, wheezy, wheezy, wheezy song that sounds like a squeaky wheel. Play this. So it kind of sounds like you got the wrong cart at Costco, and it's just that annoying one that goes through the store. Okay, so males will sing a softer version of the song when females are near during courtship and nest building. I have been hearing this guy outside of my house for the past 3 days. Okay, so we have our oven bird. So it's a ground warbler that breeds in large mature broadleaf or mixed forest. And it's actually named oven bird because their nests look like a Dutch oven on the ground. They're very loud, lower pitch song of teacher, teacher, teacher that grows louder over the repetition. So teacher, 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 And to our ears, some emphasis on their syllables may sound more like T, 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 or teachier, teachier, and you'll hear that in this song. Okay, one more time. And you get the TT at the end. Okay. All right. We have our black-throated green warbler. Okay, so the black-throated green warbler, oh my goodness, green warbler sings two similar songs. One is known as the unaccented song, which is a high, cheery sound buzz, zee zo zo zee. Okay, and that's directed at males to claim territory. The other is the accented song, which sounds like zee to attract and communicate with females. You'll see the difference in when I play them for you. Okay, so let's listen to the first one. And the last note is always buzzy. Okay, so that's the song that they use to attract and communicate with females. And here is the directed at males to claim territory song. Okay, I'm gonna play the first song one more time. And if you guys, there's an older song that it always reminds me of. If you guys want to throw it into the chat, if you come up with it. Does that sound like any old song to you, the beginning of it? I can't see the chat right now, but it sounds like the beginning of I Like That Old Time Rock and Roll. That's how I always remember these birds. Okay, and one individual of the black-throated green warbler was observed singing 466 songs in 1 hour. Okay, next we have the American goldfinch. So the American goldfinch is commonly found in weedy fields, open floodplains, suburbs, parks, and backyards. And the males sing a long and variable series of twitters and warbles that can be a few seconds long. So their most common call is its contact call, often given in flight, which sounds like it's quietly saying potato chip. So we'll listen to that song. So that's its song and its flight call, so the potato chip, potato chip. So potato chip, potato chip. And we can remember this mnemonic by remembering that the American goldfinch kind of looks like a bag of Lay's classic potato chips. All right, next we have is the red-eyed vireo. So this bird breeds in deciduous and mixed forests with shrubby understories and will make use of the forest edge. So their song is a broken series of slurred notes that usually ends in either a down slur or an up slur, like they're kind of asking a question. So the mnemonic that we use for the red-eyed vireo is, here I am, where are you? Here I am, where are you? Here I am, where are you? Right.
I wanted to note that the red-eyed vireo can be mistaken for a robin very frequently, and the way that I've been taught to distinguish them, because they have similar phrases of like the da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da. With the red-eyed vireo, they're kind of more conversational, like the here I am, where are you? More casual, conversational is how I've heard it described, whereas the robin is just, they can be so noisy in the mornings and nonstop singing.
Thank you, Aiden. Right, next is we have the northern cardinal. Okay, so look for northern cardinals in dense shrubby areas along forest edges, overgrown fields, backyards, and marshes. So the cool thing about this bird is the males and the females both sing the songs, whereas normally it's just the males. And the song is a loud string of two-parted whistles, which often speed up and end in a slow trill. I'm gonna play the song. Okay, so our mnemonic for the northern cardinal is dear, dear, birdie, 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 birdie. Okay, and then they also have another song or call that's what cheer, what cheer, what cheer. Okay. Right. Okay, so scientists have found that these birds can make at least 16 different types of calls, but one that we can hear most commonly is the loud metallic chip that sounds similar to the Star Trek phaser guns. Okay, so I'm gonna play it. Okay, so I don't know if we have any Trekkies on here. I've never watched it, so I don't know these guys' names, but you can remember this kind of mnemonic as these guys with the red shirts, and they kind of look like the cardinal. Feel free to put out their name if you know it. All right. Next is we have the bobolink. So the bobolink prefers large fields with a mixture of grasses and plants like legumes or dandelions, and commonly nest in hayfields. So after breeding, the bobolink will move to freshwater marshes or coastal areas to molt before they migrate. So the males sing a metallic, bubbly, rambling song that sounds a lot like R2-D2. So here we are. So again, like the hermit thrush, that's a very distinct call. Sorry, distinct song. Okay, so for their call, they use a pink sound all year to communicate within flocks. And we can hear it here. Just a quick pink, pink. All right. So again, we can remember R2D2, they kind of have the same round head, look very similar. All right, next we have is the red-winged blackbird. Okay, so if you stand at the edge of a marsh, you can always hear these birds give out their territorial calls, so they know no one else is sneaking into their territories. So the red-winged blackbird has a classic conqueree, and it's a classic sound of wetlands across North America. So the males often sing from a high perch while leaning forward to fluff out their bright shoulder patches and show them off. Okay, so here is the song. Conqueree. Okay, and they have a call that's a distinct chick that is fairly easy to recognize, while males and females make them all year long. So really quick chick, chick, chick. All right. Next we have these guys, our blue jays. So they're found in all kinds of forests and are more abundant near forest edges rather than deep in the woods. So they're very common in urban and suburban areas, especially where bird feeders are found. So the blue jay has a rusty call that sounds like a rusty clothesline, and they also have a jay call. So I'm going to play both of these. Very similar to a rusty clothesline coming in. Okay, and then we also have the J, 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 J call. All right. So although the blue jay isn't as talented as the northern mockingbird or the gray catbird, these locals can mimic a variety of bird species, including red-tailed hawks, bald eagles, and eastern screech owls. So here's a hawk imitation from a blue jay. Right. Okay, so I'm going to let Aiden take over for the next slide. So we have our American crows versus our common ravens.
All right, so closely related to blue jays, these are also in the corvid family. And they are some of the most common bird ID mix-ups that you can make because they look similar, not side by side. Ravens are a lot bigger. But one of the best ways to tell them apart is by the way they sound. And that's something you don't even need a good look at them to see. You can hear them and know that's a crow, that's a raven. So American crows have that typical caw, caw sound, which can be fairly raspy, and they may do it many times in rapid succession. They'll gather in groups and all make it at the same time. They have many variations depending on what activity they're doing. But most of us will probably know that distinctive caw, caw sound. So Tessa, if you could play the crow sound on the left, please. And so what sets the raven apart is that they have a much deeper, much croakier call. If you could play that one now, please. As you can see, it's much deeper, got more of a croak to it. It's also quite raspy, and that really sets them apart from all the other birds in the forest. Both of these birds are also mimics, much like a blue jay, though not as talented as a mockingbird, but they typically will make sounds similar to these, and that's how you can kind of get a gist of what you're hearing, whether it's typical crow caw, but if you hear a much deeper, croakier sound, you're likely hearing a raven. All right,
Thank you.
Tessa.
Thank you very much. All right. Now we come to my favorite bird. Okay, so American woodcocks, they're found nesting in young shrubby forests, old fields, and agricultural urban areas. And they spend most of their time hidden in fields or on the forest floor where they do their little dance to probe for worms. If you guys haven't seen it, I would suggest you look up American woodcock dance. It's worth it. Okay, so they have a loud and nasally ping sound, and they can be heard on spring nights while they do their erratic flight display. All right. All right, so we're moving on to some bigger boys now. Okay, so we have the barred owl. Okay, so barred owls live year-round in mixed forests of large trees, often found near the water, roosting on branches or in tree cavities during the day, and they hunt by night. So they have a very distinct call that sounds like "wooks for you, wooks for you." Okay, and the all has a southern drawl type thing at the end. I'll show you here. Okay, so you can hear the southern drawl type thing. Ooh. Okay, and then they also do duet calls, which is called a caterwaul. Okay, so when a pair get together and get riled up, they do their caterwaul, which sounds like a pair of monkeys that carries well through the woods. So I'll play this. I'll pause it there. Right, next is we have our great horned owl. Okay, so great horned owls gravitate towards woodlands, swamps, and agricultural areas, but are found in all types of forests. So they have a deep, soft hoot with a stuttering rhythm that sounds like, just play it. Okay, so it's very low. Hopefully you guys can hear that, but who's awake? Me too. Okay, just very soft. Who's awake? Me too. One more time. All right. So next up, we have a practice test for you guys. All right. So me being a teacher by trade, obviously I have to throw in a test for you guys. Okay, so what we're gonna do, I'm gonna play this clip. Okay, and then you can throw it in the chat if you know what it is. First one to get it gets a gold star. All right, so here's the first one. How's it looking, Aiden?
We got 1 vote for chipping sparrow, 1 vote for song sparrow. I'll see if anyone else chimes in, but you're on the right track for sure. I got 1 vote for junco, another for chipping sparrow. I'm going to say yeah, so that's a chipping sparrow.
Yes.
Right, Tessa? Yeah,
Yes,
so
good job.
another key distinguishing factor from that and the junco is it's kind of got a sharper chipping sound. Where I would say juncos are a bit rounder, a bit more laser beamy, at least to me. But chipping sparrows, that's that sharp chipping sound, very fast. So good job.
All right, next one.
Got some votes for cardinal.
Anyone else want to throw a vote in? No? Aiden, do you know what that is?
Sounds like a cardinal to me.
It is a cardinal. Good job, Larry and Hugo. All right, number 3. Oops. Oops.
Short and sweet. Yep, got some yellow warbler votes.
Good job.
Yeah, absolutely.
Aiden threw in a little hint there. Nice and sweet. All right, number 4.
There's a second bird in the background of that, but we're looking for the first song that starts playing.
Another gold
What's for song
star.
sparrow?
Yeah, song sparrow.
There's I think there's a robin at the end of that too, if anyone caught that.
All right, number 5. Good
Robin's a
job.
really good guess, but yeah, it's the red-eyed vireo. So it's just a little more casual, a little more conversational than a robin, I would say. You got to listen to them side by side, though, if you get the chance to. And we can replay any of these if you'd like as well.
All right, the last one. I'm hoping everyone can get this one. Oh, oops. No. Ignore that. They're all now. All right, this one's the one I want. No, stop. Okay. Sorry, guys. All right. This one.
Yeah, barred owl. That's correct.
Good job. All right. So
So
when I try to, oh, you go
I was
ahead,
just going
Aiden.
to say, if there's any birds you guys wanted to dive into more or find out a little more about, feel free to type that in the chat and we can go back to those slides or anything like that before we conclude this, I guess.
Yeah, so I'm gonna try to get to the next slide, but it's probably gonna play all of these. Okay, there. Okay. All right. So before, if anyone wants to go back to birds that we covered, feel free to throw it in the chat. We can go back and replay them. So we just wanted to go over some birding resources. Where we got all the sounds for our bird songs and calls was from Zeno Canto. Okay. So I guess Aiden, do you wanna
Yeah,
kind of elaborate?
that's a public resource that anyone can upload sounds to. I think there's some verification that goes on as well, but I mean they're free to use, which is great, and that's why we got them from there. And that's just kind of in it. People record them from all over the world too, so you can kind of hear minor regional differences between if someone's submitting a yellow warbler call from Mexico or if they're up in Canada. There's slight differences, so that's kind of interesting.
All right.
Did you
Um,
want me to go over the other resources too?
yeah, sure, if you want to. Yeah, I can just I'll kind of show the Merlin mobile app, but if you want to go over everything else.
Sure. Yeah. Well, so eBird is kind of the hub for all this stuff in a way, and it's where people go to upload their own birding lists when they go out and record what they've got and take note. All about birds. It's pretty much what it says. It's all about birds, and most of these are all affiliated with the Cornell Lab. Same with Macaulay Library, and that's kind of a database of pictures, videos, and sounds that aren't quite free to use, but they're definitely fun to browse.
Okay, so um, if you're into birding, I'm sure you know about the Merlin app, but I just kind of want to go over it quickly. I didn't know about it until a few weeks ago. So yeah, so the Merlin is a mobile app that can be found on the Google Play Store and the Apple Store. So I think you have to sign up for it. But it's just like oh no, can you see that? Oh no. Okay. Well, it's just like an app that allows you to um, see what birds are around you based on their sound. So you just hit record, and while it's listening to what's around you, it's going to pick up the bird species, which is a super helpful tool. I use it when I'm just outside playing with my son. I'll set it on a table and kind of just look at it every few minutes to see if I'm kind of guessing the the songs correctly. Um, but while this is an extremely useful tool, it's not perfect, but it can help a lot. So sometimes it will throw out species that uh, aren't what it's actually hearing. So sometimes you'll get like a rare, like you'll get like a little red circle on it, like saying that like this species is rare to your location. So it might not be the correct call. Aiden, anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, I would just say it's super helpful, but trust your ear above everything. So hopefully this webinar today has helped you with that, because your ear is less fallible typically than the app if you're well trained, if you know what you're listening to.
No, the Merlin app is free.
It's totally free to use. I think you might need an account for it, but that is also free. So yeah, I highly recommend it.
All right. That is the end of this webinar. We really wanted to focus on like intro to birding, but add in a few like I guess more advanced species like the tufted titmouse and things like that. Once I can get over here. Okay, so we are coming up with a few different webinars and events. So if you're interested in having more webinars or you want to kind of be involved more with the Nature Trust, okay, so you can visit our website at www.naturetrust.nb.ca. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram by searching Nature Trust NB. Um, and you can become a member and volunteer with us. Okay, so on our website, we have the volunteer outreach page, so you can kind of sign up and we can get in touch with you. So some of our upcoming events this weekend, we have a stewardship training day at Grand Dig Nature Preserve. So our stewardship training days is kind of getting you used to all the tools and resources we have for being a steward in our nature preserves. Okay, so on Sunday, we have the wellness hike at Cowie Taylor Nature Preserve, and that's in partnership with Paddle Fest. Next week, May 23rd, we have a Baby and Me nature walk at Margaret Coburn Cameron Woods Nature Preserve in Keswick Ridge. And then the following week, Tuesday, we have a botanical embroidery event at Blueberry Hill Nature Preserve in Grand Bay, Westfield. So if you want to be involved in any of that, please go to our website. You can sign up through Eventbrite. And then our upcoming webinar is going to be salmon recovery on the Atlantic Inner Bay of Fundy salmon with Alana Bartlett of Fort Folly Habitat Recovery. So that is June 19th. Date is to be determined, most likely going to be 6 to 7, but just keep an eye out for that. And you can view past webinars and even this webinar again, and they're available on the Nature Trust website. All right. So I'll pass it to you, Aiden.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if this Zoom will kick us out in 2 minutes because that's the end of our presentation, but I will go through this quickly. Yeah, if you have any more questions, I believe, so this will be available from our website as soon as possible, but I think you might also get an email tomorrow with the recording from Zoom, I believe, but I'll have to double check that.
Yeah, I see that question on the chat, if it's going to be shared afterwards. Yeah, Kara, yeah, I will share it to you. I will send you the link for it. And yeah.
Well, thank you very much for all coming out. We hope this has been helpful, and if you'd love to see more of this kind of thing, please let us know. And if you have any thing you'd like to see in further webinars as to aspects we can improve, make things clearer, or if you want to dive in deeper and get more detailed about this stuff too, that'd be interesting too. So yeah, thank you so much for coming out, everybody. And we hope to see you at the next webinar or event.
Yes, thank you so much, everyone. Just to let you know, this was both Aiden and I's first webinar. So I'm glad that you guys enjoyed it. And yes, please come out to our other events. We'd love to see you there. All right, if there's no other questions, I guess we can close this down, Aiden. And thank you all and have a great night.
All right, thanks again. Have a good night.